Welcome back to Veronica Live. And oh my goodness, I was like, John, wait, because we start talking before I hit record. And, Veronica Live, we were just chatting off air that we have the most incredible guests. And this morning, whenever you listen to this, just Patrick Chapin, the new president and CEO, Chapin, president and CEO of Bay County Chamber. What an interesting backstory. I mean, He took a whole year off to travel the world. He's donated a kidney. He's an ultra marathoner. Talking with the new Panama City Beach mayor of literally 48 hours, Mayor Stuart Tetemer, that nobody... I wasn't tracking that race. I looked a long time, a little bit ago when I heard the name, and I looked on Facebook and I go, well, he doesn't have that many followers, So I honestly didn't know if he'd be able to. How would you take out Mayor Sheldon, who's very powerful?
Right.
And the governor supported him. Everybody in town supported him. Now I don't want to belittle Mayor Sheldon on his events. I'm very excited that he has brought these twice a year, 4-day country things that fill up beds and heads and bring the biggest stars, and my problem is when I go to a concert, I like a seat. I don't like to be with everybody squishing me. But that's wonderful for our town. But this, now we've got a computer science, smart guy in it. I didn't see it coming. John.
Well, it kind of goes back, everybody thinks, first off, you got the money aspect. Okay.
Yeah.
So Mayor Sheldon outraised, Mayor Stewart by 3-1 almost. Okay, so obviously the money advantage, all the businesses, everybody, the in crowd was behind Sheldon, and so and the problem was that he had an opponent that went out and did the retail politics, that went out and knocked on doors and talked to people, and Veronica. In almost every case, every race I've ever watched or monitor, whatever, go back and do a look back on why did they win. It's the person that went out and did the retail politics.
Well, because I've talked about this for several years now, because when I first moved here 10 years ago, one of the first races I got involved in was Congressman Sutherland, and he'd been a 2-time congressman. His people thought he had it. There was no knocking on doors, and I was trying to parlay the veterans aspect. I tried to help. I prepped a fancy woman that was doing a New York Times interview because there was a lot of things that went wrong with his campaign, and it was his people thought they had it, and then they did stupid things running against a woman that went national. And so
it's the arrogance of incumbency. That's what it is.
And you cannot be arrogant today because we're tired of it. And how interesting to talk to Mayor Tetemer, because he was in Denver, saw what a full-on lockdown was. He's been to San Francisco with needles in people's arms along the street. You know what I'm saying? That's insanity, because every time when my son lived in Seattle and I flew out there and his wedding, we're at a fancy hotel and somebody's shooting up in front of the hotel, and I'd seen it before, so I wasn't scandalized as the guests were. And this is part of the lunacy. And so I am excited because it sounds like he has vision. And for me, the traffic is a huge problem. And I was just, I had an HOA meeting with my neighborhood because, I for some reason, I always end up in leadership with my HOAs, by the way. And one of the homeowners was saying how this past week she was going from Hathaway Bridge over to Pier Park, and it was like almost a 2-hour adventure. Yeah, because the traffic, and there was no accident, John. There was, and I was like, oh my gosh, because now I kind of go the back way through the airport and sneak over with that Philip Griffith Highway, but they need a light there too.
Faster. I'm sure that's faster for you between the mess on 390.
Oh yeah.
Add that to it, and then through Lynn Haven and everything. It's probably fast for you to go back.
Well, it sounds like. I mean, I'm shocked that the mayor won the race. I wasn't expecting it. He's already been lovely because I literally reached out to him 22 hours in advance of my event, and he came. And so it sounds like he really cares about this community. And with his parents being here, he's not going anywhere. And I think, too, that engineering background, when you're talking infrastructure and roads, and having done PR for a couple of years in that world, it takes 10 years, 20 years sometimes to change things. And, so I'm excited to have him there. It sounds like he's a good guy.
I hope the office doesn't change him. And that's one of the things we talked about with Patrick Chapin, of the chamber, about the servant leadership model, which is what he learned at Disney, as far as, no jobs beneath anybody.
Oh, he was wonderful too, because he's,
right.
Sometimes these people have these positions and their heads explode. But these are two
Exactly.
outsiders that have come in, and
Right.
they're bringing their A game, and that's the thing. Because I was talking about it last night at dinner, is sometimes there's this friction when you're not from here, that if you are from here, you're better than the person that's not from here. But those of us that have lived around the world bring our A game everywhere we go. And, I'm always trying to make it a better place here. And I know you are too, John.
Well, when we first moved here in 1983, we lived in Lynn Haven, and I'll tell you what, outsiders were not welcome.
I've definitely felt that over the 10 years I've been here, especially when you're successful at things. And, why do people have to act like that? But no, the new mayor said he had, we're great at our craft and looking forward to the next one. And then the CEO, Patrick, said, thank you so much for the opportunity. He had a blast. So we'll be able to book them again as stuff happens. It's nice to be able to reach out and touch these people. But we have to talk about what's been happening in the world. And yesterday,
what's not happening in the world. I mean, it's crazy out there.
Former Congressman George Santos he has his Witty Wednesday. So I've been listening because Congressman Gates is like a regular, and I love to hear from our congressman. And so he had one last night, a last minute one, and he'll send me an invite. And then I had messaged him yesterday on X because he put something out there, and I said, hey, I really, next time in New York, I want to have coffee with you. And then I said, really want you to come on my show. And he responded for the whole world to see that he would come on my show, John. And so anyways, fast forward, he had one of his little witty Friday night events, because the breaking news story was Kristi Noem's book is about to hit. And so we'll talk about that in a second. But he invited me to speak, which he's done every time I've done it. I mean, the last time I listened to the show, I was like laying in bed. So I'm like, I'm not getting out of bed because you got to sit up to speak. So anyways, I spoke on the subject last night. And then he said for the whole world to hear how he was going to come on my show. And I had already messaged him my phone number. So we're going to get him booked, because even though he comes with some baggage, I have to say all of his votes would have been the way we want, and the way he sees things, I have to say it's normally, John, how you and I see things. But the breaking story last night was this book that Kristi Noem is about to drop, and they released a little snippet, and apparently when she was out in South Dakota on her farm, one of her dogs was bad, and then she was having problems with a goat. So she actually, instead of like how you and I would drive our animals to the vet to put them to sleep, she decided to shoot her dog. So the whole world, it was like a whole show on Kristi Noem shooting her dog out on her farm. And people were so upset, John, because they were like, oh my gosh, because as a city person, I couldn't ever see myself shooting my own dog. But the dog, sometimes animals are out of control, just like Commander that belongs to President Biden, who's bit literally 25 Secret Service agents, should have been put down because it was bad.
Right, should have been put down. Yeah.
Instead, they allowed him to bite everyone. But Kristi Noem shot this dog, and everybody was so mad about it. And how could you shoot an animal? And oh my goodness! But I kind of looked past that, and when I was for my time to comment on the show, I said, well, I really think maybe she shot the dog because, number one, the dog was bad. Number two, when you're dealing with an animal, it's a very hard decision to put a dog down. Well, maybe in this case it wasn't, but normally it's pulling at your heartstrings. But it showed that she had a difficult decision to be made, and she did it. ... She's also vying to be the VP in the number 2 most powerful position in the world. Had that been a Taliban and she needed to make a decision to take one out, this is what I said. I think she would. This is what it's showcasing. She made a hard decision.
I think if this is actually true now, because NBC News, which ran with the story, has not verified the story. See, this is what the problem of modern journalism, right? They're running with the story they haven't verified.
Okay.
So it may be made up. The book has not been released yet. It's not due to be released for another month. So this is whether it's leaked stuff, I have no idea. But I will say this about Christine, and I really do like her a lot. But if she wrote a book and put this in the book, she needs to find whoever didn't flag that and say, you really don't need to be putting that in a book, because most people are going to be
mortified, right?
By it, okay?
Right, and I will say, I was on this show. Everybody was repulsed by it. And there were some studs on there, too, like some military studs.
So the way I look at this, Veronica, is this is a judgment call, okay? Forget about the issue. It's a judgment call. And are you that out of touch that you would cite this? And, farm business, I understand, okay? People don't understand where their food comes from anymore, so they don't understand...
right, we're not killing cows or horses that break a leg.
The steak, you got to kill the cow, okay? You got to chop the chicken's head off.
Oh my gosh! Which my mother's from Spain, so my Spanish grandparents lived in this, like duplex that they owned all of it, but down below was a little like farm zone with the chicken, and that's how you got your chicken. They'd go and break the neck. And I was traumatized as a city girl. And they were living in a city, but they had this little, zone. So most Americans can't handle this.
Exactly. And it's like, okay, so when you're a farmer, you're dealing with animals, lots of animals, okay? Dog, goat, chicken, whatever, okay? Pigs. And that animal is an economic item to you, okay? You have to feed grain, whatever, slop the pig. And at some point, the pig gets old, the cow gets old. If it's a milk cow, it gets old, stops giving milk. Okay, what's the economic value of a cow that's old and won't give milk? To a dairy farmer, 0, okay? Same thing for a pig. If you have a pig that gets to a certain age and you can't have piglets and all that kind of stuff, what's the economic value of the pig? It's time to go to the slaughterhouse, because all you're doing is feeding the pig and there's no output from it. So, it reaches an economic value and it's time to go to the slaughterhouse to kill it. And the same thing with dogs and goats and whatever, you don't take it to the vet to put down, you don't. And I've got a friend that has a bunch of cows.
She could be really rural. How are you going to drive a dog that maybe was eating the chickens, or a goat that's out of control? And now, because I had, did I tell you that story? Did we talk about that last week when I had to drive my 2 dogs to the vet because they both decided to eat a plant?
No, you didn't.
Yeah, so they both ate I think it was an impatient, and I didn't realize it because I saw the dachshund eating the plant. And so we come back into the house and the dachshund throws up half the plant at the door. So I was like, okay. And then my crazy doodle, Cupid, threw up on the sofa, which I have them covered with fancy stuff so that it didn't impact my sofa. And then the dachshund threw up on the sofa. And then the dachshund threw up in the house again. And then outside. So I called the vet and I was like, hey, I Googled this plant. What do I need to do? And they're like, come now. 2 dogs to the vet and one's crazy because Cupid was a COVID dog, so she never went anywhere. And yeah, so the dachshund Picasso was throwing up, and we get to the vet Cupid's now on my lap having a spaz attack because we're in a vet, and then the other dog's throwing up who I can't even handle because I've got a crazy doodle. And so my friend's a vet, so he took Picasso and gave him the anti-throw up shot. It wasn't a plant that would kill the dog, but apparently it. You know, a little dachshund can't puke 10 times. And then he came back. I've never had a dog get an IV. So he's like, I'm giving you Picasso, and he looks like a camel. Well, they put an entire IV in his back, and he looked like he had a Kim Kardashian Brazilian butt lift. And and I still had a crazy doodle on my lap. And luckily, Cupid only puked once because she didn't eat that much, I guess, because she's a dumb blonde. She didn't figure it out. But anyways, $200 later, and a dachshund with a Kim Kardashian Brazilian butt for the whole rest of the afternoon. They survived, but this was a emergency situation, right. John.
But back to if you're a farmer and you play like
you don't have time to bring them.
You have a dog eating your chickens, okay?
Right, you've got to handle it.
That dog is costing you money because he's killing the chickens, which make eggs or meat or whatever you're growing them for. And you're not going to take the dog to the vet. Just go out and you take a gun and you shoot it. Put it out of its misery.
It costs so much, as we know. You know, we know how much these things cost. I mean, luckily for me, it was $200 because the whole time I'm thinking, oh my gosh, is this going to be based on my children living in New York and
and you live in a city and the vet's not that far away. Out here in the country, the vet is a long ways away. Okay?
Well, and how do you get crazy animals? Because I luckily have a truck with I was my own WeatherTech commercial as the dachshund kept puking back there. But it was hard enough getting two to the vet, and I can't imagine getting
some
a
animals,
goat.
Back to farms, goats, and you don't put the goat in the car, okay?
No. Well, and that was the other thing. It's
you
kind
don't
of
put the cow in the car and the horse in the car,
Well, in the story, it says she then went on to a family goat, which she called nasty and mean. And so anyway, she led the goat to a gravel pit where she first shot and wounded, but did not kill the animal. I guess she had the wrong kind of bullet in the shotgun, which was stupid. And then she got another shell for her gun and killed the goat. So back to what you said, and that's what came out in this show. Everybody's like, who the hell's editing this book? But right. I know now, because I work sometimes for a fancy, PR company. When it comes to books, the author's writing the book, and then whoever's editing doesn't really care about your content. You know what I'm saying? It's not some political editor.
But this is a political book, okay?
Well,
it has to be looked at through a political lens.
I think she was trying to be tough, is what it was. But she looked stupid with the wrong bullet for the goat.
But are you telling me that nobody in her circle that has seen this book or read a proof of the book?
Well,
you probably really don't need to be putting out there because 99% of America is not going to get this, okay? They're going to think you're mean and nasty.
That was the thing.
Doing
and plus,
what farmers do.
The left has gone bananas, and then right. I don't know how many people are on this. I'll have to look here on the show last night. It was probably a couple hundred, but most were in that set with that sentiment that they couldn't handle that this woman was shooting a dog, right. And a lot of times, too, if it's a dog, on a farm, a lot of them are purebred, by the way, because they need them to do certain things, and it has to be that kind of breed.
Right.
So they're not cheap.
It's a farm animal. It's not a pet. It's a farm animal, okay, that's out doing a job. It's a working dog. And I think you'd find the same. Talk to hunters that have a lot of dogs, They do the same thing. When the dog's time is done, the dog's time is done,
Well, so this show last night, there's been 15,000 views, John, on this show that we did last night that I got to speak on. So anyways, I know I'm just a little pea in a pod here, but when I got the invite and that story literally just broke, I saw it in having been a military woman and you're working with men, you don't want people to think you're weak. and maybe she was trying to showcase if she had to take out Osama bin Laden and he was a dog that bit, she could do it.
About it. It really is. I think she did herself a lot of damage.
Well, I think because right now on X, like everybody, even conservatives, like David Limbaugh commented on it. Rush Limbaugh's brother last night. Yep. So conservatives are not liking it. So basically, the other tidbit that I started last night commenting on X was, well, let's cross her off the VP list because this is a freaking distraction. We don't need more distractions, John. We don't need more distractions. And
to me, it just says she's out of touch with stuff, you know.
And I'm on 140,000 feeds, and so the most ever based on my what I was doing last night. But and then my favorite
I'm proud
thing.
To say I'm on 0.
I know you need to be on there because that's the other thing. We're pretty smart, you know. You and I we can get on these feeds. I was called an old hag. That was my statement of the week. Somebody called me an old hag.
Okay.
But
there you go.
Because they didn't like what I had to say. It was a liberal. It's always a liberal.
Of course. Because they always have to resort to name calling because they can't. See, they can't come back at you factually, or morally or anything else. So they have to resort to name calling because that's all they have left.
Well, and I don't feel like I'm in the old hag category yet. I don't need a facelift yet, John. Which hopefully you'll fund when the time comes.
Well, you got to go talk to
my husband.
No, Dr. Ward.
Well, no, he does the injectables. It's
not the injections. Okay.
Which
got to find a different one for the facelift. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so that was the breaking news story last night, and then George Santos announcing to the world he'd come on my show. So granted, you know, he's not a saint, but every way he would vote, because I've been listening to his show now for several weeks, is the way you and I would vote. So McCarthy kicking him out, we've been screwed by this. I just want to say.
I thought it's just another case of Republicans shooting themselves in the foot, much like this week, you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene and other Republicans out there. We need to vacate the speaker, you know, because
we don't have time, MTG, and that's what I've decided. It's just another, we don't have time. And so...
The stupidest one I saw was one story, and I can't recall the Republican's name, but he was saying we need to boot Johnson, but before we do that, we need to have a caucus meeting to decide who the next speaker is, rather than having it play out on the floor in public. I was like, really? You know, you're never going to get anybody in that caucus at this point to agree to anybody to be another speaker. It's just never going to happen. You know, because the lines are so divided, you're never going to get agreement in the caucus. And so I think this vacate the speaker stuff, it's like right off the speaker, you know, you're going to have to elect a new speaker in January anyways. So, you know, the damage is done. If you think
John, we don't have time. We don't have time because my biggest tweet of the week, one of my biggest ones, was on Dan Bongino because he was commenting about, you know, Trump being tied up. And so I commented that it's time for us to pick the VP because we need the VP running around fighting on behalf of Trump because he's in a stupid, dumbass courtroom. And I think I've got like 25,000 views on that, lots of comments about that, because when is he going to pick the damn VP? And now obviously he can't be known because everybody's pissed at her because she's a puppy killer. So we need this. We need a VP now.
I don't necessarily agree with that because first off, Trump is the star, not the VP. Okay. He is not going to let a VP selectee run around getting all the glory. That's just not Trump. And I think Trump he's discombobulating these people because they think they can keep him tied up in New York and he won't be able to campaign. And what is he doing while he's in New York? He's campaigning. Remember, this is running for president, okay? The campaign is 30-second sound bites and visuals.
Yeah.
And do you think Trump's not getting great 30-second sound bites and visuals out of what's going on in New York right now? You saw him with the construction workers where they were cheering for him and F Joe Bidening. Okay. What kind of scene does that say, when they say, well, the unions are all for Biden and not for Trump. And here you have all these unionized construction workers in New York cheering for him. What message is that sending? The Democrats should be frightened for what was going on.
Okay, well, maybe you're right in that way, but
of the Democrats, they're doing it to themselves,
Well, it's so scary. Yeah, so here's the comment on the one. Old hag set in her ways, making comments about things she knows nothing about. And I was actually commenting on the Stern story because Howard Stern, if you don't know, is actually a piece of trash because he's never been nice to women. And there's a story that I actually attached so this loser could see it. And he said, I'm not a listener, but someone with a effed up opinion that's not warranted. And so then I was like, oh, old hag, good one. And then I attached a story about how awful Howard Stern is. Plus, I can't stand to look at his hair. Oh,
they obviously never listened to the old Howard Stern.
but it's not even that old because the story was from a few months ago talking about when he had like Sofia Vergara, the beautiful Colombian woman from Modern Family. How he was commenting about her breasts. I mean, the guy's a creeper. He's such a creeper. But go ahead.
I would say he's been doing it for years. That's his shtick. And, it's like, where's the misogyny charge against Howard Stern? Well, because Howard Stern's turned into a liberal. So he gets a pass. He gets a pass now.
And then you get into this. So the interview, which I don't even know how they kept Biden awake. I think it's an hour and 10 minutes. But all of it is Howard Stern just fawning on, oh, I didn't know that. You're so special. You're so wonderful. Tell me about your first wife. And then, oh, that must have been so hard. And then Bo, and then, like you said, the big takeaway was he did say he would debate Trump, and so we better frickin' hold his feet to the fire on that one. That's an important one.
Well, the oatmeal brain Joe Biden, I don't know what they had him pumped up on.
Well, he wasn't as hyper as the State of the Union, but it was like if you've ever had an old relative that just tells you those old stories, that this is what it was. It was, oh my goodness. And then when he met Jill.
The latest is now they're not going to let him walk to the helicopter by himself. They're going to surround him with aides because he looks so horrible trying to walk, like he's old and decrepit, which he is. But another story that we had was Biden at a pro-abortion event, blessing himself. Okay, I'm like.
Yeah. So I follow Catholic Vote. I think I'm in love with X because unlike Facebook, that's all your friends that don't like your stuff or they like your stuff. When it's political, a lot of them don't want to comment because they're afraid that they're going to be taken out. X has given me freedom, John, because I can comment about all of this crap and tell people what he did when he was at this event with Nikki Fried. Everybody, it was Nikki Fried, who is our in charge of the Democrat Party. She used to be our agriculture commissioner.
Well, they've got some fantasy that Florida is in play as a purple state, which I laugh at, because Florida, we've turned another 2 counties red in the past couple of months. So Florida, I think there's 4 or 5 counties left that are Democrat majority, the typical, Miami, Dade, Broward kind of thing. I think they flipped Hillsborough recently. So Republicans have a huge majority in the state. And so this was at a pro-abortion rally. And again, the Democrats think that's their goal. That's their salvation. And Nikki Fried was complaining about Ron DeSantis, going from 15 weeks to 6 weeks. And Joe Biden's up there and he makes the sign of the cross. He puts his hand on his forehead and then on his heart and then on each shoulder. And and he's a Catholic, okay? For Catholics, that means something.
He's a pretend Catholic. I'm done with him being a Catholic.
Right.
He is not in my club.
But to do it at an event where you're advocating for the murder of children is horrid. I mean, it's just why he's not excommunicated, and even the Archbishop was not having any of it, So I don't know. Or Catholic bishop, Joseph Strickland wrote on X, absolutely vile. He said the exact words he should have said. Absolutely vile. Pray for the soul of our president. He is a feeble old man. He needs to prepare to meet his maker. That's from a Catholic bishop saying exactly
Wait. Which bishop said that? Who said that?
It was Catholic Bishop Joseph Strickland. I don't know what diocese out of it didn't say, but what he said was exactly what needed to be said. This guy claims to be a Catholic, but it's just pretend. He's a pretend Catholic. Someday he'll meet his maker, and he'll have to explain to God what the hell was going on with him. Well, and if he gets a pass, I'll be surprised.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Nikki Fried's a piece of work. She's awful herself, and I've been seeing some ultrasounds lately because somebody I know is expecting, and let me tell you about an ultrasound at these early weeks. How incredible they are. How incredible. And we know now through a blood test if you're having a boy or a girl. And guess what? You can even see the baby yawn when they're like at 13 weeks. So I'm over this. I'm over this that we don't know that this is a human with unique DNA. I'm standing up for life. And John, you and I fight for it every day. Right. There's no more excuses. There's no more. This is not a clump of cells. This is a baby. And we need to bend over backwards, help these mothers that can't afford. Whatever we have to do, we need to do. And then they're always like, Catholics, conservatives, you just talk about it. You don't help. No, I know plenty of people that would adopt too. So instead
it's not only that, Veronica. You and I believe that evil exists in the world. Okay, there is good and there is evil, and the godless tend to be evil. Okay, they don't necessarily have to be, but they tend to be. And that these abortionists are exactly that. They don't seem to mind murdering babies, and I'm not talking about 6 weeks or 15 weeks.
No,
I'm talking about after they've been born, and it comes out of their own mouths. Okay. So the Democrat,
I'm done.
Former Democrat,
I'm done.
Virginia said it. He said it out loud. He's a doctor, okay? After the baby's born, the doctors and the mom will consult and decide whether to kill the baby or not. I mean, it's like,
I'm
who
done
in
with
their
this.
right mind could utter those words that was not absolute evil, 100% evil, to utter those kinds of words. And I'm so tired of the apologists, particularly on the Christian side, call out evil for what it is.
Well, the quote in the article, voters of faith need to wake up and understand what is at stake in November. And then the guy says that he called it demonic. It is demonic. Who would kill a baby? Who would kill a baby? Instead, we're freaking out over a dog that that Chrissy Noem had a dog that was attacking people. I'm angry at the Bidens that ever had a damn dog at the White House that bit 25 Secret Service. A German Shepherd can destroy you. I was bit by a German Shepherd at 15. So our society's messed up, John.
I know, but the problem is, Veronica, is how much money will people spend if their dog gets sick or ill or whatever? How much?
Oh,
thousands. Tens of thousands of dollars will they spend on their dog, and they won't spend a nickel to spare a baby. A baby has a soul. A dog doesn't. Okay? Huge difference. And we seem to have lost sight of that reality.
Well, okay, because
of evil.
And I'm sorry, these are babies. If you think killing babies, okay, you need to go Google, because it used to be Father Pavone, but the Pope stripped his title of being a priest because he's a Trump supporter. But if you follow him on Instagram, he put a link if you want to go see an abortion. I'm not strong enough to do it myself. But this also leads into the next segment of these crazy people that are protesting on campuses that also has been out of control. Columbia, George Washington, I think was yesterday. USC, John, they have canceled their graduation. And that was another one of my tweets that went crazy. I was like, what gives? This is somebody in college working their ass off to go to their graduation, and now you've canceled it. I wrote, hire some freaking Navy SEALs to control the area. This is out of control.
It's not only that, they're telling the Jewish students and the Jewish professors, in the case of, what was it, NYU? Maybe it was Columbia. One of them, there was a Jewish professor on the campus. They locked him out of the campus. His security card would not get him into the building anymore because they shut him off because they didn't want him in the building because he was Jewish. I'm like, what? Where is this? Is insane.
Okay, so here's the bottom line: is these people, which I think there's, I'm seeing a lot of info out there saying that a lot of these are hired professionals, probably by George Soros. But when you wrap the American flag around this, freedom of speech does not involve wanting to kill people. That's when I draw the line. Death to America. These students need to be canceled. If they're foreign on a visa, they need to be sent back to their freaking country. I'm tired of this, John. We need strong leadership.
Well, you notice they're not wrapping themselves in the American flag. They're wrapping themselves in the Palestinian flag, which... And if you wrap yourself in an Israeli flag, they're gonna try. Yeah,
but they wrap it into this is my freedom of speech. So our Jewish and brothers and sisters are being kicked in the gut, and we can't. We got to draw a line. Now, I will say I was shocked because I commented on this on Twitter too, and it went a little crazy that USC was actually arresting protesters. So I wrote, are the protesters going to go have dinner now with Governor Newsom? Because, I couldn't believe USC had the cojones to do it. Now,
yeah, exactly.
UT of Austin was all over arresting protesters. So kick ass on the UT president, because Texas isn't going to deal with this, Shiza.
Right. And Governor DeSantis said the same thing. Not happening in Florida. Not going to be allowed. This is not. First off, I'd like to find out. I'd love to go up and just rip the mask off these people. You notice they all wear masks.
Oh yeah.
So you can't find out who they are. So they're ashamed or something. I'm not quite sure what
or they're going to be trying to get a job
who they are.
in IT for Google, which I'm clapping in the air for Google because they fired about 30 people because they support Israel in some sort of huge lucrative contract, and they said nope. You cannot do this. So I'm shocked because I would assume Google executives are liberal.
Well, they are liberal, but
the bottom line is money.
When the employees went and occupied the CEO's office, Google drew the line and said, "We are a business, okay? We are a business."
I was proud.
You don't come in here and protest and occupy the CEO's office. You're fired. And that's exactly what should have happened.
Well, I know somebody that's at Columbia getting a master's, and so Columbia. So I messaged them. I'm like, "Are you okay?" But they're getting a tech degree, so they're like, on the tech side, it's not so crazy over here. But I was worried, and I know someone else's child's at NYU, so I messaged them, and they're like, they're fine. They're just studying for finals. But you worry about all these children, and as a parent, especially when my daughter was at UF. She got a double degree. So she got to do the undergrad in December and then the master's in the spring back to back. And she only wanted to do one ceremony. But I was like, oh my gosh, no, sign up for two. What if you can't? What if there's another COVID movement? These are lifelong events. You never get a chance to do it. Because I know when I was in college, I just wanted to be a lieutenant. So I had to go. Went to George Mason, and then I would drive to University of Maryland an hour away. So I didn't go to my college graduation because for me, being a lieutenant was more important. And I regret I didn't do it. And to take that away from these kids, because I had a ceremony, right? Becoming a lieutenant, a butter bar. But to take that away from students that have worked so hard, I can't imagine not being able to pin on my lieutenant bars if somebody took that away, or walk with your cap and gown to get your diploma.
Well, it's one thing to protest, but when it turns to violence and threats of violence and all this kind of stuff, Yeah, and the proper way to evaluate this is if these student protesters were in white hoods with KKK crosses burning on the student quad, would they be tolerated the same way these Hamas people are? That's the bottom line, and we all know the answer. The answer is if the KKK showed up and started burning crosses on the quad, the police would be in there in 10 nanoseconds to clear them out, and they would have no problems using clubs or whatever to get them out because it's an unfavorable group. So it's not about free speech, okay? So forget the free speech.
No, there's terrorism now when you want a country to be taken out, and you aren't okay with Jewish people. And I'm worried that there's going to be an escalation. And what about all these tents popping up? This is crap. College.
It's a coordinated effort. There's money behind it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is these people that are all sitting there saying, we're Hamas. Hamas is a designated terrorist organization by the United States of America. If somebody sits there and says, I'm Hamas, they should be arrested on the spot and deported.
Well, I really think I want two things. I want everybody to watch how an abortion's done, if you're that brave.
Right.
And then I want you to watch that video of those Israeli children, babies, women being raped, what they did to these people. I just thinking about it, I'm sick. I can't even imagine watching.
I tell you what, Veronica, after this week, this week, I would have agreed with you. I had the unfortunate experience of sitting on a jury this week in Bay County, and the charge was a 55-year-old man that molested and had sex with his 14-year-old stepdaughter. Okay? And she testified in court about it. And I tell you what, I had problems sleeping after hearing that. I mean, there was just something was so fundamentally disturbing about it that I just couldn't, it was really, you can't unsee it, okay? You can't unsee it.
Well, you're so brave to have done it, because I wouldn't want to be on that case. I mean, I'm still scarred from seeing 4 pages of Gender Queer, the book, that was a cartoon, and you've just lived like the real life thing. And
well, that was the thing, that there was a victim up there on the stand that was real, and she still lives. I don't want to really go into too much detail because I don't want her to feel bad about it, or worse than she already does, I'm sure, of having to testify about it. But at least, Bay County doesn't play, okay? So the judge, we found him guilty on 3 counts, and the judge sentenced him to 2 life sentences.
Well, you're a superhero to sit on that jury, because I don't know if I could have done it. I told you back in the day I was invited to be an OSI agent, and when I researched because they really wanted strong women, but when it came to like sex cases, I was like, I'm not strong enough to see. I don't want to see child porn. I don't want, because we read all the news stories and
during jury selection, a lot, particularly women that had children, said they could not do it.
Yeah. So thank you, John, for stepping up. You're a superhero. You put a man behind bars. That's wonderful.
And there was a similar story. I mean, it's
your Tennessee story.
He got convicted of in 2 life sentences. In Tennessee, they've made it. They passed it for a death penalty for child rapists. So if this had been Tennessee and we found him guilty, he could have been sentenced to death. So,
is this what it's going to take? Because our society's so dumb and lets these people out, and nothing happens to him. Just like the guy that raped the college student and killed her in Georgia.
Right.
If he'd been in prison, we wouldn't have these things. But I'm impressed with Tennessee, because the other thing, Tennessee is talking about that teacher gun law, that teachers can carry. Teachers are going to be allowed to carry guns, and as long as they have a Tennessee handgun permit, they undergo background check, submit 2 sets of fingerprints, They'd have to receive psychological and psychiatric certification from a licensed healthcare provider, 40 hours of basic training in school policing, and they have to sign off on a form. They get to carry guns in Tennessee, and I am all for this. So I commented on Twitter. I said, "This is excellent. Concealed carry trained teachers are the first line of defense of keeping teachers safe." That is what I wrote, and people, you get attacked for that. You get attacked for wanting to keep kids safe.
Well, what's interesting, Veronica, from a psychological standpoint, okay, these shooters are cowards, okay? The bottom line, they're cowards, okay? But they go in there, the places that all these shootings happen at, there's been no barriers to entry. They just basically walk in the door and start shooting people up with very little consequences. The places they bypass are the ones that have security, or they know that they're not going to get very far before somebody intervenes. So if you know the school has teachers with guns that will shoot back at you, what do you think the likelihood
and that's
of
what I put
ever
too.
going in there?
I wrote deterrence in all caps. Because we know when you have a strong president, the enemy doesn't mess around. And if you have teachers that we know are carrying, it's called deterrence. And people aren't going to be messing around.
But where is the argument? Where's the count? Why do we not hear the counter argument that the fact that you have armed teachers means the likelihood of those teachers ever having to use their weapon diminishes, goes way down. I mean, way down because of the fact they're armed. That's why people don't walk into police stations and start shooting the police. Why is that? Because the police are going to shoot back. That's why. And that's just the way our society, is it becoming the Wild West? Yeah, I think so. We're all going to have to. That's why I'm for open carry, by the way. I think we are going to have to start openly carrying arms to defend ourselves and send a message to the criminals that would try to prey on us. You screw with me, I am going to kill you. And if they get that message, they're not going to mess with you, are they? They're going to go find the easy target, which is what every one of these chicken crap school shooters do. They go find the easy target.
Well, every week I listen in the morning live to the Cooner Report out of Boston, and I love this guy, Jeff Cooner. He used to work for Washington Times. He would fill in for Michael Savage. And I guess in Boston, they had a trans boy that says he's a girl, wrote a manifesto with a list of 45 people in the school saying who he was going to shoot. And they didn't even tell the parents, and they're letting him stay in the classroom. And so now some of the parents know, and they're not fighting back. I would pull my kid out of there. We would not tolerate this. Why does a trans student get to dictate all of this? And he had 45 names on the list, John. That kid needs to be out. And I saw another X post, and it had like all these shootings. And let me tell you how many trans shootings there were. There was a lot, because these people are they're mentally deranged with their sexuality, and now they're mad at people. So we've got to take control, and great on you. You are a superhero. I commend you, John, because I would have done it, but it would have been hard. The problem is it's hard for me to, like I said, those 4 genderqueer pages I saw are like they're stained into my head because I was so traumatized by seeing it that and then I couldn't believe what I saw.
Right. And every time I hear this thing about banning books in schools, it's like you people are uninformed. You don't understand what these books are and what's in them that they should never see the light of day in a school. And I don't care how old the kids are. A public school should never, ever, ever have that kind of material in the school. And I, if they want to be adults and go do that, fine. That's their business. I don't care. But putting it in children, minors' hands, you end up with this. I don't want to do a cause and effect here, but we're in this weird society now.
Well,
It's too weird.
we're missing the moral compass that we talk about all the time.
Right,
But
because we're no longer a God-centric nation.
no, and I don't know how to get back besides pray, pray, pray. And I want teachers in Tennessee to be carrying a weapon for deterrence and first line of defense, because I'm tired of churches and schools being soft targets. And that's the other thing. Now all these Jewish people, they were like, what was the Muslim holiday that we just had? They're just like, oh my gosh, maybe you shouldn't be going to your Jewish synagogue because we're having a holiday and they might come take you out. And I'm like, since what year are we? We're 2024. Well, and a Jewish person can't go to synagogue without, they're going to need security now, of course, which I think they've needed for a while. And same with Catholic churches. I mean, all churches, it's a scary place right now.
Well, the thing about the Jewish churches in particular, Veronica, I read a story in the Wall Street Journal this week. They have a national organization. It's a homeland security style organization that is aimed purely at protecting Jewish synagogues and Jewish people in the United States. And they basically have intel gathering operations. And they're trying to find these crazy people that are out that are going to be threats and stop them. They go into the churches and teach the church members how to defend themselves when these crazy people come in. And it has actually saved lives, believe it or not. They've actually had, they had one case where they said, well, the I don't know what the Jewish people call it. They're not parishioners, obviously, but the synagogue member. They taught him, like, if you don't have any weapon at all and you're confronted with somebody, anything can become a weapon. Pick up a chair and throw it at them. That will give you time to do.
Yes.
And that's exactly what happened. Somebody came in, some crazy came in and was threatening the people, and one of the synagogue members picked up a chair and threw it at him, and they were able to escape from that situation. So, wow. But it's really bad when you have to have a national organization that's looking on the lookout for these, and there are a lot of crazies. Back to America. I am Hamas. It's in the United States.
And Jewish liberals are still voting for Biden that doesn't care. Because if a Trump was in there, he would send National Guard in there and clean house at all these colleges. Because what is a college? It's a place of learning. It's where you're trying to get a degree for your future, John, not for taking out Israel and hating Jewish people. So, yeah, done with that. The last story I want to talk about is the Adam Schiff. Oh, go ahead.
I was saying, before we finish, I just want, while we're still on the Hamas crazies and stuff, and the idiots in Detroit shouting "Death to America." I heard a really funny one yesterday. You had this Pakistan and Uzbekistan and all these Afghanistan. You got all these different stands, right, where you have all these crazies at. And they called it Detroitistans for all the Death to America people that are up there. That's become literally another country in a country,
Well,
and
they need to deport people that don't like America. Yep. Yeah. Well, the last story I want to talk about before we talk about our cartoons and wrap it up is Adam Schiff reportedly robbed in San Francisco, forced to attend his ritzy campaign dinner with no suit because, number one, he was a dumbass. You don't ever leave your bags in a car visible. Okay, that's rule number one. I don't care where you live. And so he was supposedly attending this swanky event, and I guess the car was parked in a parking garage. And so anyways, I wrote something on X to the effect that, hope you enjoyed this party that you created, because how hysterical is that? I thought it was a hoot. It is.
It's the irony. It just drips with irony. And he looks like he had his street clothes on. He looked like a dork, number one. Of course, he always looks like a dork, but even looked more dorkish. Very uncoordinated. At least, with the suit, it's hard to be uncoordinated with the suit.
Yeah.
But he looked definitely like somebody needs to teach him to dress. But, when it comes back on the liberals, the irony's there, but the problem is it doesn't change them. It doesn't do anything to them. And they have no moral basis, I mean, we're still waiting for the ironclad evidence that Pencil Neck had on the Trump collusion. Where's it at? We've never seen it because he was lying about it, and he lies about everything. But I hope Steve Garvey takes that race.
I heard him this morning actually on Fox News, and he's not going to tolerate protesters. He's not going to He's going to clean up the crime. You've got to keep people in prison, and you've got to have hard. Like in Tennessee, if you rape a child, if there's a death penalty attached to it, maybe that'll start changing the way the world, revolves. When are children or babies not the most important thing in a society? Why do we have to talk about this every week, that our society is so messed up that you don't have your priorities right?
Well, maybe, there's always a tipping point, Veronica, and it's when people have had enough. That's when you reach the tipping point, and things will change.
I've been there for a couple years, and then I'm worried because there's no red wave. And
there's not going to be a red wave. It's not bad enough yet.
Where is it? And then, I was on X yesterday. This man with a ton of followers commented that Steve Bannon, who worked with Trump, who has his own show that the left has gone after, commented that Trump's not going to win in November. And then we've had retired Congressman Jeff Davis on, who said he's not going to win. So I'm really so worried. I don't know if we have to start doing a 24/7 prayer for our country, movement, because if we don't win, where are we going to be? With a lesbian visibility week, I don't care, transgender visibility, whatever, on Easter. Everything is so crazy right now.
Well, I think at the end of the day, Trump will win in November, provided a couple things. One, they keep talking about these black swan events. There's going to be some black swan event, which means some back to the tipping point thing. Something will happen, and everybody, let's say there's a war with Russia. We go to war with Russia, they attack us or whatever. It's like the 9/11 thing. Okay, the 9/11 thing was a tipping point. That if there had been some say Republican was in charge, and it showed that his negligence was what caused that 9/11 attack. That was so horrendous, and the country all got behind the response to that. Almost 80-90% of the country was united. Those are tipping point moments, and that's what we've not gotten to. But Joe Biden is so bad. I mean, so bad that unless they lie, cheat, and steal, what you're going to do to steal the election again, then that's the only way they win, is through lying, cheating, and stealing. If it's a straight up Biden versus Trump, I think Trump's going to take it because of the economic situation.
Well, but it's going to be so bad because now people are starting to realize if Trump doesn't take it, that again on X, the tax cuts that will go away. And it's going to be on the backs of the hardworking middle class people that were trying to work every day to make it happen. And then we're losing people in the middle class because they can't even pay their car insurance.
Right. So I'll give you a good example. Let's say gas prices go to $5 a gallon in October before the election. Do you think Joe Biden's going to win? Nope.
Well, here was a story on CNN today, and they've carried this story several times on Communist News Network because, I listen to CNN and watch CNN for our listeners because I have to bring the education of the left. Guess what got postponed? And this was a story a couple weeks ago, is that they're trying to stop making menthol cigarettes, and 83% of the users of menthol cigarettes are African Americans.
Yep.
And so they're like, nope, stop. We gotta hold on to this because guess why? They don't want to piss off black people that want their menthol. So they're going to wait till November 7th to deal with the menthol. So this is the second time I've heard this story now in a span of a few weeks because they're so worried about the black vote and then there was some statistic that if they stopped the menthol cigarettes, that in I don't know if it was 10 or 20 years, it would save 300,000 black people's lives. So that's not important, John. Winning the White House is.
Exactly. So they have no morals, and all they care about is winning the election. And back to my comment about gas prices. What's going on with gas right now? The Biden administration is allowing Iran and Russia to sell their crude oil into the world market to keep the prices down. So in effect, we're paying for Russia. Because we're the world's largest energy user, we're paying the Russians to put fuel on the market and make a profit so they can buy arms to fight the Ukrainians, which we're spending money on sending money to the Ukraine so they can fight the Russians with the weapons that we're funding for the Russians to buy. I mean, is that not insane?
Well, the whole thing's insane because literally the man can't even tie his shoe.
Right.
But I think they must have to drug him because really the whole Howard Stern, besides the Trump, that he would debate Trump, was this, his talking about when he was a young guy and he was an eligible bachelor and the women would like send him pictures in the mail. Why do I care about that? Why do I care about that? And I don't even know how he made it like an hour and 10 minutes,
I don't either, but
not even talking real issues, John.
Right. Because there are no real issues. All they're doing is manipulating us, back to the gas story. Why are they doing this? Why are they allowing it? Because they wanted to stop Russia from funding the war. They would shut down their oil production. They wouldn't have any money. They wouldn't get any money. If they want to shut down Iran, they'd stop their oil production. They wouldn't have any money. But they won't do that because if they shut down Russian and Iranian oil production, the price of oil goes up. Now you've got $5 and $6 a gallon gas. And guess who's getting blamed for it? Because they've shut down U.S. production. The Biden administration. And you think they're going to win an election with $5 or $6 a gallon gas?
They're not going to win an election if you take away my menthol cigarettes. I mean, the five cigarettes I've ever smoked in life, I really enjoyed the 4 that were menthol. So if I was going to be a smoker, I'd be smoking menthol. But this is such craziness. But we've had a huge show today. I mean, Linda Cope, Warrior Beach Retreat, she's got her golf tournament coming up. So if you live here locally, go to warriorbeachretreat.org. And then this next weekend is the Gulf Coast Salute. So there's going to be a tremendous air show here in the Panhandle on the beach. So come to Panama City Beach if you want to see, America's finest flying jet noise. I cannot wait. And I'm going to go to the party Friday night and hang out with the cute Thunderbirds. Oh, I can't wait. And then Patrick Chapin, the president and CEO of Bay County Chamber. He's only been here 3 months, but what an incredible interview. He delivered, and it was wonderful, I thought. Wow, I'm so glad he's got the reins of the Bay County Chamber, and I really hope we continue to lead the way. And then our new mayor of 48 Hours, Mayor Stewart Teta Mayor, I love his name. I love that, Teta Mayor. Panama City Beach mayor came out of nowhere, crushed it. He's our new mayor for the next 4 years. And it was a brilliant interview, actually. And he cares about the roads and, the local citizen. We do get forgotten so often. So that was great. And looks like... I hear a helicopter. I live on the water. Okay, is the army coming to raid me at the end of the show? It sounds like an osprey. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. Because I do have ospreys fly over several times. I get excited and I run out. But it looks like George Santos, the former congressman, now has become friendly with me. And he said it on his show last night with 15,000 people listening that he's going to come on Veronica Live. And then looks like this week, too, we're going to have a big interview with Alan Dershowitz, famous attorney. He's a liberal, but, he understands the Constitution, and I think he supports Trump because of what's gone down. So that'll be you'll have to look for it on our podcast.
He's a Democrat. I think he legally supports Trump, but I don't think he supports him for election. Of course, he doesn't support Biden either. So,
it'll be interesting because he's on national news, Fox News,
all the
and
time,
CNN all the time. But we'll close with our cartoons, John. You always send me the cutest cartoons. And it my favorite. Okay, what does it say? I don't have my glasses. I got to put my glasses on because I haven't looked at them since right now.
Okay, so the first one is there's three people there. It says one has a shirt on that says student protesters, the other one says college administrators, and the third one says I'm with stupid. Okay.
So what is on the button? The I can't read what is on that button. It says I love something on the button of the student protester. I'm gonna have to, I don't know. It's like really hard to read.
Yeah, I can't quite make it out either.
Wait,
but
it says I love terrorists. Is what it says.
So the student's holding up a sign that says "From the river to the sea, support Hamas." Okay, so that's a student with their, I forget what that Palestinian blue and white
the
thing
black
is.
Black and white.
They wrap around them. So that's see no evil, and then hear no evil is the college administrator with their fingers in their ear, and then evil is a Hamas terrorist with the smoking AK-47 saying "I'm with stupid," pointing to
both of them actually. Well, and then this week, Biden. It's always Biden buffoonery. So he went to give a speech, and so it's got Biden at his presidential podium. And he's got two people looking on. And so he wrote, or he says, so I hope I can count on your support in November. Pause. Leave the podium quickly and ignore reporters shouting questions. So he's saying this because he's reading all the prompts. and then the two people are looking at him. They're like, seriously? No more stage directions in the teleprompter. Which this has happened so many times. And like I just did I'm making a video. It's like a commercial. So I wrote a script this week and I wrote those comments in red. But you would think the stage directions that at this point, like when I was shooting the commercial, like, you know, my people were competent that I was doing the commercial with, but you'd think that they'd stop adding that because now this has happened multiple times, John. I mean, they just need to start getting somebody to go up there and just lead him off the stage, like Jill or somebody, but they just need to literally lead him off the stage anymore. It's kind of the Ron Burgundy thing, you know. Somebody's going to slip in something one of these days on that teleprompter, and he's going to read it. Oh my gosh! Right, I'm with idiot. It's going to say, or I am the idiot.
I'm the idiot.
Well, I do want to say this is breaking news too. Is that and we're going to have her on the show next week. Rhonda Woodward. I can't say her. Woodward is challenging Neil Dunn in the Congressional District 2 because she filed. And I know she sent me her website, so I was looking at it. And so she's running against Neil Dunn because my slogan is I'm done with Dunn. So because I don't ever see him. I mean, people tell me that are in D.C. how much they love him all the time. But I just, like, he's not, if he really is taking care of you and me, he needs to hire some people. Hire me. I'll do your social media because I can't tell in your social media that you're working for me. And then when I call your office, you don't call me back. So, and I have a cell number, but I'm not going to call a cell number. So anyways, so Panama City conservative Rhonda Woodward announced she's running against him. Woodward emphasized herself as bold, unapologetic, never compromising conservative rather than a bipartisan people pleaser. She also pointed out she's a lifelong Floridian. She was a single mother who worked her way out of poverty. And her platform centers around securing the border, advocating for absolute freedom, implementing America's first agenda. She's a huge Trumper. And so standing with former Donald Trump, she'll be right there. She's fighting for fiscal responsibility and upholding conservative values. And it says Dunn has only faced Republican primary opposition for a seat one time, and that was in 2016 when he ran against Mary Thomas, who I helped fight for the seat, and she lost by 1%. And really, it should have been Mary because she worked so much harder. The congressman has been endorsed.
I don't know that I agree with that part, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, no, she did. She did way more than Dunn ever did.
Well, she did more than him, but I don't think I think that her campaign was
Well, she was a little too negative with him. Yeah.
Well, not only that, but it was a Washington campaign.
Well, and then Scott didn't endorse her until like the last week, like DeSantis just did with Sheldon. That didn't come out till the last week. And I'm like, if you're going to endorse these people and you're in a big position, you don't wait till the last freaking week. I mean, that's
right.
weak.
But she did not want to do the retail politics, Veronica. That was my criticism of her. Was she did not want to get out and do retail politics. She wanted to do a campaign ad driven, Washington kind of campaign. And I think she was. Well,
she knocked on doors all over the district. I think the problem, reflecting back, because I was intimately working on that campaign, was she did try to attack Dunn on the stage. And I did a big, huge debate here where I had a bunch of famous, Kaz, that was the editor of the News Herald, was on the stage, and Amy Hoyt was on the stage, and so I had big people. I wasn't involved in picking the questions, and she went after Dunn, and out on the stage, like, people didn't like that, because when you're a woman, they think of you as a bitch when you do something like that, and so it was too bitchy. And women, we have you have to tread lightly, because like now with Kristi Noem killing her dog, you can't come back from that. But it does say the congressman has been endorsed by multiple state officials, to include Jim Jordan, Jimmy Patronis, Wilton Simpson, who I tried to call numerous times to come on my show, and he was another one that wouldn't go local. And then Evan Power, of course, and who also Dunn endorsed Evan Power when he ran for RPO chairman. Yep. Dunn endorsed Trump in January, and his campaign issues center around combating Biden inflation, standing against the Chinese Communist Party, expanding the economy, and more. Dunn's district came under particular fire after the state redrew Florida's congressional map, ultimately eliminating Democrat Majority District 5, formerly held by Al Lawson, who ran against Dunn in 2022 and lost by 19 points. So we're going to have her on, and
I don't know. Last piece, it had nothing to do the district.
Yeah, I don't think that had anything to do with it.
Steve Sutherland won the district before they redrew it. Okay,
right.
That was the debate I had with Alan Bentz. Because Alan Bentz was convinced we couldn't win without redrawing the district. I told him, you're wrong. You don't understand the district.
Well, the Dems I've met in our district are blue dog Dems, and they're almost Republicans, I have to say.
Right.
So and I've met a lot of them.
You'll win, and that's what Steve Sutherland did. He went out and spent a year traveling the district, talking to people. That's how you win.
Well, he didn't do it his third go, and his people were awful, so I'm not a fan. But I will say I'm excited to host her, and we'll see what happens. And because I didn't think Sheldon would lose, and I wasn't paying attention. And obviously, people are fed up right now, and if they don't see you in action, and I've looked at Dunn's social media for the last 2 months, there was literally 3 posts of him. The rest was the Dunn team, which I reached out to multiple times to come to my event for this billionaire that put $50 million in our county, and they never called me back. So I have a problem with this, because, we've got to wine and dine people to get their money here. You need to show up if you're not in session. And so I don't know. I'm excited about hosting Rhonda on the show, and we'll see where it goes, honestly. And the seat might be up for the taking, because I haven't seen anything from this campaign. And I haven't even seen a Dunn sign yet at all.
Well, like I said, if they're, Panama City Beach just showed the power of incumbency doesn't mean automatic reelection.
Right. Everybody gets all snooty and thinks they have it. And that happened to Dunn, or not Dunn, Sutherland, his third go. They were like, we got this,
We got this. Exactly right.
There was a lot of stupid things that went on. And then when he made national news because he lived in a lingerie store with the quote, that let's start there. When I write my book, it's going to be really good, John. It's going to be good.
Just don't talk about killing your dog, okay?
No. Well, I tried to kill 2 last week when they ate a plant, and that cost me $200. And oh my goodness! I mean, they've only ever eaten grass and an acorn. Who would eat a gross plant? So Thanks for joining Veronica
Okay.
Live. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and of course we're on all the podcast platforms: Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, Podcast Addict, YouTube, LinkedIn. I posted a lot of the big heavy hitter interviews, sometimes on True Social when I have the energy. But we're always looking for a sponsor. We'd love to go national. And truly, John, you're a wonderful wingman. Thanks for being a superhero and putting a sex offender away for life twice. So amen to that.
Sad but true.
But God bless everyone, and we've got plenty of hot interviews. So check us out on all the platforms. And Veronica Live out. We'll see you next time.